Hello, and thank you so much for joining us here on another episode of our Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast, where we talk about all the cool stuff we have happening here at the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes. Today, I'm so glad to have the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes Diabetes Wellness Program, folks. This is your second time on.
Yeah,
hey, thank you so much for being here. Introduce yourselves.
I'm Marcos Baros, the program director.
Raven Bramlett, Healthy Lifestyle Specialist.
Okay, and you brought a bunch of stuff. Hey, all right. We got props and whatnot. Well, we're talking about National Nutrition Month, right?
Yes.
And it's every month, every year in March, right?
Every year in March.
Well, tell me what's the big deal? How long it's been around, or
I don't know the specifics, honestly.
hit him with a hard question right off the top. No, not a problem. Well, I think when we talk about us Native folks, sometimes we're guilty. Hey, right here. Not eating. Every race is, guilty of not eating properly all the time, and it's a struggle, especially as we get older. Hey, I look right at Marcos when I said that. I know when we were talking before, obviously you want to just put an emphasis on healthy eating, right?
Yes, absolutely. Right now on our social media on Facebook, we're doing tip of the day, which is kind of an easy tip, normally about eating out. It's different little things that you can do quickly to cut down on some.
What's a good one? If you do eat out, if you have to eat out?
Pretty much eat a salad first.
Okay.
If you can, order the child size or appetizer or share with someone. You don't have to eat all of that.
Yeah, and there's a difference really when you talk about eating out. You might go to a restaurant and get a decent portion, but sometimes when you go to fast food, like, man, ain't nobody here need 3,500 calories in a burger, right?
No.
I would say definitely studying the menu.
Yes.
Or like looking up the menu before you go, especially if you know where you're going to go. I feel like that'd be pretty good. I know generally whenever we talk about places that we're fixing to go eat to or whatever, maybe places that we haven't been. That's one of the things we talk about. And then we'll always be talking to each other oh, that looks really good. And we're like, yeah, it actually kind of does. I'll probably get something like that. So,
but I think that's a great tip itself. Just think about it. I've cited too. I was like, I can't tell you how many times, we got a Subway here, but it's right next. Like if you miss that, or if it's busy sometimes, McDonald's is right next door. I mean, just there's a lot of fast, and some, it's crazy that sometimes we think, I'm guilty of I'll go to one fast food place or another because it's crowded in there, even though I know that's probably on the bottom line, that's probably a little more nutritionally better for me. But even thinking, but just thinking about it, right? I mean, giving yourself a few seconds to really, do I really want to go here, or do I want to do something a little better for my body, right?
Right. Being mindful of what you put into your body every day it's important. It's hard.
It is, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
But because as kids, we grow up just shoveling everything in our and some of us back in the day, man, were you one of those people who could eat anything and everything when you were a kid?
when I was a kid, I had to drink Ensure because I was very picky and I
Wow.
could not gain weight for anything. So my doctor actually prescribed me to drink those Ensure drinks, which I hated. Those.
Wow.
So I learned to start eating after that.
Well, but then again, I know people who had weight issues back when we were in junior high, and now that I'm the age that I am, I'm like, oh, I now I see how it is. Well, I know that there are so many things about nutritional eating healthy that when people think about it, they think, oh God, I don't want to do that. It's so difficult. It's so hard. You have to have a chart and you have to have a scale, and no, it's not like that, right?
We really don't push that kind of diet or way of eating. We mostly try to, especially when we talk to different clients, we try to kind of push like one little step, maybe every 2 weeks. try this first, do this. We're really not into the counting, all that stuff. I always feel like it kind of leads to disordered eating, which is not a way. And a lot of us have that mindset because we're so used to the diet culture telling us no.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I know people who have used, I'm not going to mention names, but the calorie counting and things like points, things like that. And I see that it works, but just like I've read and experienced, if you deprive yourself of something for months on end, and at some point you say, well, I deserve some of this now.
So that's kind of one of the biggest things too, is whenever you're like calorie counting or whatnot, calorie counting itself, it's a very difficult task. And so the more difficult things are, generally, as people, we tend to just kind of give up on it. So that's kind of how she was playing into, like, where we just give them little tips that they can, subtle changes that they can make that don't really like seem or are that hard to where they're maintainable. And then with the, I feel like I haven't had this in forever, that kind of leads into it not being maintainable either. So that's another thing that we try to push for, is really don't have to cut anything out. Even sweets, like, you're going to give into sweet craving. And the moment you do, you're completely done with everything else. So with that, we just try to push, have your little Oreo or whatever your guilty pleasures on your sweets whenever you want, but just make sure you like moderate it down instead of eating like a whole row of the Oreo thing,
but not a whole chocolate cake on the weekend, right?
Yeah, like not even like a full slice, like kind of cut that slice in half or something along those lines, or just like 3 Oreos, something like that. So just those little changes will actually make the world of difference when it comes to proper nutrition. Yeah,
and I know it's so what you're saying basically is man, moderation is good in everything.
Yep.
Everything we do. One thing we were discussing just a little bit before we started the podcast today. We mentioned you mentioned there are a couple things that you try to, when it comes to telling folks about how to get started, or there are a couple things you tell them, right? Mm-hmm. And what are those?
So one of the biggest things that we want to tell them whenever they get started is definitely portion sizes. So portion sizes, everything you need for your portions is literally in your hand. And so that's the biggest thing too, is like proteins, right? So your proteins would be the size of your palm. So you have 1 to 2 of
those.
Not
2 palms, right? Or 3.
Well, 1 to 2 generally is what would fit for a meal.
Yeah.
And then your carbs, vegetables. Vegetables is a fist. So basically the diameter of your fist is 1 to 2 of those a meal. And then your carbs, you cup your hand, and whatever fits in your hand, you get 1 to 2 of those. And then your fats is just your thumb. So it's really easy to portion out your plate using those measurements.
And then when you're at a buffet, man.
Yeah. That's your portions for the day.
If you're at a buffet, I go by how big the plate is, right? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you see the what is it? The chicken fried steak at the res. Like, that thing covers that whole plate over there. I'm like, that's enough for me.
That's how many? Whose hand was that? Right?
Yeah.
It's a Bigfoot
Andre
hand.
the Giant back there cooking.
That one thing you talk. So there's portion control. That's one. Mm-hmm. And what's the second? You mentioned meat.
Oh yeah, that's right. Meat. You don't need meat every meal.
Don't say it ain't so.
Yeah,
Marcos.
Really don't. We especially nowadays, we've been so
conditioned.
Yeah,
conditioned.
I was going
couldn't
there.
think of the word. Yeah, conditioned to think that every meal we need meat. We have bacon or sausage or ham, spam, whatever for breakfast. we have some kind of meat for lunch, whether it be in a sandwich or chicken fried steak at the res, like I just said, something like that. We have meat for lunch, and then we get home, we got meat thawing out, ready
Meat
to
on the
cook
grill.
yeah, but a lot of meats too have hidden fats. And so you might think like, you know what, this ain't going to be that bad. Like the bacon probably has like over 30 grams of fat. Which
That's a lot of salt in there too, man.
it is, especially, I don't know why. I mean, I get salt kind of, what is it? Cures
Yeah,
and kind of keeps it somewhat decent for a little bit, but
Oh, now you're killing me.
yeah.
I know. No, who doesn't like bacon in the morning? Who doesn't love sausage?
Right,
You know?
I'm saying, but I'm just saying, like, if you are going to have, let's say you do eat bacon in the morning, maybe cut out some meat at lunch, there's alternatives to find that protein, everything that you would get from that meat. There's alternatives for that.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
And plus, let's just, you mentioned sandwiches, and like I said, man, I'm at the age of now, and I'm like, I do think about stuff I eat. I don't always listen to myself, but I think about it. But, when you talk about sandwiches, if you're talking about processed, and you're talking about making processed foods, man. And when you think about those, I don't think about the calories and stuff. I think about the stuff that's in them, because everything has, a lot of sodium in it because you want it to have a good shelf life. But then you think about the food coloring that's in it, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
And, it's, unless you have some sort of degree and all this stuff, you wouldn't really know what all those things say on the label, or you do some serious research.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us are doing that. I mean, I'm sure there are some people, but first of all, I can't read things that small anyway.
Yeah.
No, but no one wants to take people generally don't want to take the time. They just know that it's good. And especially if it's something, let's talk about, talk about conditions. I thought you mentioned SMAM and stuff like that. There are a lot of things that we talked about that you probably could get away with as a kid, not going to bother you. But when you're 30, 40, 50 years old, those same types of things are there. It's like the impact on your body is a lot more, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your body tends to, as you get older, break things down differently.
Not as efficiently, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely not as efficiently. I mean, like now I can't eat spicy food because it just heartburn galore right there. So I can't eat spicy food. Barbecue too.
No, you poor soul.
I know, but a lot of barbecue. I could have, maybe like pulled pork sandwich or something like that. But a lot of barbecue, like if I have like a plate of ribs or something, probably eat like one rib and I'll be good.
Oh no. Hey, I can't watch an ice cream commercial without getting a stomachache.
Yeah.
What about you, Raven?
What, that I can't eat?
Yeah.
A lot of issues.
You're one of those people, huh?
I can eat spicy. The spicier the better. If it doesn't make my nose run, I don't want it.
Yeah, if it doesn't make your nose run, or you start tearing up while you're in the restaurant, that's good food.
Yeah. Now, like pasta and anything real bread heavy, it usually does.
I'm with you.
Yeah, just makes me feel. Ugh.
I love some spaghetti, but there's times when my wife makes it. I have one plate, it's beautiful. I have another one, I'm like, it's awesome until I finish it. Then I'm like, oh, pasta is good stuff, but it's like, fills you up fast.
Absolutely. And rice. I mean, they're more on like the complex carb side of that.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit. I know, what are some foods that native, let's just say not even native people, but people in general, you should really maybe not stay away from totally, but just you want to stay away for the most part.
Well, even though talking about like stuff that's heavy, on your stomach, so pasta, rices, all that stuff, the good thing is it will fill you up with less calories. So that's a big reason why you don't want to take it away, because you may be eating less, but you're going to be full and stay fuller longer than you would if you totally cut that out.
But then there's bread.
Yes,
Ooh.
there's all that.
Where do you
stuff.
even start with that?
So the big misconception, and we see this a lot of times too with some of our clients that come in and they're like, "Oh, you know what? I just got diagnosed diabetic." Excuse me, diabetic, not
Diabetic.
diabetic.
I like it.
Diabetic, and they're like, "I got to cut out all this bread." You really don't. And this goes into kind of what we call swapping, right? So white bread. That would be the bread
Yeah.
to stay away from.
Yeah, I got you.
But replace that with, whole wheat, honey wheat, something along those lines. Whole grain, rye bread. Granted, those like the rye bread and stuff are going to be more expensive for a smaller roll or loaf, but in the end, it's better for you, and you won't have to cut anything out. Because that goes back into, oh man, I really wanted that. So then you kind of give in to having a sandwich if you're trying to cut out bread, and you're like, yep. And you're like, well, I did it. So next thing you know, you're eating a bunch of sandwiches. So.
Yeah, or a sleeve of Oreos.
Yeah.
Oh. And then, you got to struggle with all the candy and stuff that you make during the holidays. Around Thanksgiving, pies out the wazoo. And then, and really, in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's just one big long buffet, right? I mean, who are we kidding, man? You get office parties,
Yep.
and then everybody wants to have, hey, come over, we're having Mexican, your whatever. It's just, and then it culminates, and even when Christmas is over, you're still shoving stuff in your mouth because you got to get through New Year's Day, right?
Yep.
And then finally, you get a break, and then before you know it, boom, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Then everywhere you look, there's chocolate. As soon as that's done, there's Easter. Everywhere you look, there's chocolate. As soon as that's done, there's Mother's Day, and everywhere you look, there's chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the candy companies are killing us.
Speaking of that, though, like how we talked about conditioning, I know my friends and I have discussed this, that everything in our society is based around food.
Yeah.
A birthday, it's food. You get an accomplishment at work, you go out and celebrate, eat food. Like everything is food.
Because it's a gathering, you gather with
Right.
people, and that's what, not just Indian people, but that's what everyone does.
Right.
It's a, you have many celebrations or whatever. That's how you get together. And that's how you celebrate things, and that's normal. But the problem is, you may bring some healthy food, but if you have a potluck, hey, all bets are off.
Yeah. That's kind of one of the tips that was posted on our page too, is, when you have gatherings and whatnot, either try to talk a couple people that are bringing food, or you yourself bring.
Now, that's a great idea.
A healthy dish, or try to get the potluck itself to be more on the healthier side of what a potluck is.
That is a great idea. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be resistant to that, but I think if you've got 15 people bringing food, and at least 2 of them, a couple, 3 of them going to bring something healthy, then I think that's a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at it, so obesity has been a pandemic since like the 90s, and it hasn't ever, really gotten any better. And honestly, I think it's actually gotten worse the last I checked. Now, some obesity rates have kind of declined, but we've been sitting in a pandemic for obesity since the 90s. And a big portion of that is everything being food oriented, and the food that we have now, processed foods, are cheaper. You get a pack of hot dogs, 99 cents, bologna, 99 cents. Whereas if you go to the deli and get, the deli cut meat, it's what, $2 a pound,
much
something
more
like that.
More than that.
Yeah. So you got to.
Well, and if you're on the way home, if you want to.
I don't want to.
You want to stop and spend.
Yeah.
You can stop and spend $10. Well, at some places, you can get sometimes they got those deals, man. Those family deals, maybe $20 for all these stuff and sides, and then you get home and even the thing that's what's terrible. I mean, there's time, and sometimes you could have made that for cheaper at home, but then everyone wants to eat right then.
And that goes with planning, like meal prepping and planning for the week.
Yeah.
How important that is. just because you have a plan. Now, can you get off that plan? Absolutely. But I know, like, if I've got food in the fridge for me to eat at work, at lunch, that's what I'm going to eat. Like, everyone's, hey, we're going to the res. We're, oh, I've got my tuna or whatever. I'm like, this is what I'm eating. And it really does help me a lot to stay on track. Now, Sunday, what do I do Sunday? Cook. Almost all day Sunday. But usually I only prep breakfast and lunch. Dinner, I kind of figure out what to do for that. But I try really hard to be thoughtful and know what I'm going to eat.
Is that something I would assume that you talk extensively with your clients about? And I know that, like I said, in our capacity here at Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes, we deal with, we talk with a lot of college kids and high school kids about, we're trying to get them, native kids, we're trying to get them interested in media, broadcast media. And I always, when we talk to high school kids, I always tell them, you got to have a plan, and realizing that plans change, but, you got to have a plan, you got, which college you're going to go, what are you going to major in? Plans change, but you got to have that financial aid, and you got to have some sort of plan because or you can be people like me, graduated high school, had no plan, wandered around for a little bit, but I'm, I was fortunate. But I think it's, that's really true in everything that we do. If even like church I was going to one time, the pastor said, "Hey, if you don't manage your money will manage you." And it's taken me years even. I'm still not quite there. But I think when it comes to this, same thing. If you don't manage if you don't manage your food will end up managing you, Think about that. So I'm sure that's something you got to just discuss with your clients, right?
Mm-hmm. We absolutely do.
And then really like with the meal planning and stuff too, it's just like try to keep it simple. You don't need to be like very complex when it comes to like the meal planning. Like whenever I first started meal planning or meal prepping planning, I went way overboard and I was trying to make like a different meal for every lunch. And that literally, I did that for maybe like a week and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. So
it's not sustainable
it's really
for
not,
anyone, really. Well, those single people, young single people who like to post pictures of themselves and their abs poking out. I'm like, yeah, call me in another 5 years. We'll see how that goes, bud.
Right. But yeah, so like just keeping it simple and, maintainable is the biggest thing too. And then kind of another thing that I wanted to touch on is how we were talking about with the fast food, driving home, spending $10, those family plans or meals and stuff. They get you with them mail-in coupons too, that those things that you get because you can get what is those footlongs at Subway for buy one, get one or whatever. And then you get the KFC ones or you get like a 20-piece bucket for like $8 or something like that. Those discounts too. So, I mean, you might open up your mail, see that and be like, oh, well, we're having KFC tonight.
That's a good deal.
Then, yeah. So that's
and to be honest, it is, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a pound of hamburger costs, what, $7 now?
$7, yeah.
It's hard. It's expensive to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be done. Mm-hmm. I know that for a while you were talking about it. I was on a same thing some years ago. I was like, okay, I'm going to plan my meals. And I was grilling chicken, and I was like, okay, I can do that for like 3 days. I got to do something else.
Yeah.
It's like I can't be eating grilled stinking chicken every day. And rice. I'm like, no, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's just not. I mean, it's maybe it's good for you, but it's just, you got to find something that it's going to work for you. And everyone's different.
And find a buddy. A lot of times, if you can find a buddy that's on the same track that you are, you could make some, they could make some, you can swap it up. That way, you've got a few different options and not just one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Me and my brother did it for a little while there. And like I made grilled chicken and then he ended up making like chicken fried rice. So, I mean, the chicken was still there. The rice was still there, but it was just cooked up different ways. So it actually kind of helped with that, just kind of, if you are going to cook the same thing, maybe try to find different ways to make it for your week. That's not too complex, just kind of easy steps. Maybe have like lemon pepper chicken or
That sounds good. Actually,
some kind of bourbon chicken or something.
some teriyaki. Oh,
Yeah.
see now I'm thinking. Okay, well we'll get over that.
With low sodium.
Yes.
There's the trick. Don't even give me. Yeah, it comes to sodium, man. I mean, you buy my wife. She always wants some soup, Then I bring her. She goes, "This is low sodium." I'm like, I'm a low sodium guy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like that's the last thing I need, right? And it's just it tastes a little bit different, but it's not gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Basically, everything canned has a ton of sodium in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you this. So here we are, Nutrition Month, and I want to ask a couple things. I guess what kind of incentives do you have for people, and when you're dealing with your clients, do you have a lot of walk-ins, or how do you when you're counseling people and whatever? Usually, how are they referred to you? How does that work?
Little bit of both.
Yeah.
We tend to have quite a few people walk in. A majority of the people that walk in tend to not realize all the services that we provide. They generally tend to come in for one or two things, and then we're like, well, we have this too. And they're like, oh, well, let me, go turn my car off real quick and sit down and, talk with you guys about that. Or we can get referrals from other programs or like our outreach and stuff. We get referrals from those. The IHS, we've been working really close with IHS, and they're starting to push more referrals towards our program.
And even, kind of word of mouth. Usually, I've noticed when we've started our like weight loss challenges, like I'll usually get an email or two around that and be like, is there anyone there that can help me, and we're like, heck yeah, come on in.
I'm curious, since you've been taking your moo-moo out, or do you get a lot of questions about nutrition there as well? Obviously, I know it's there's a whole lot of services that go along with that. I'm just curious.
Not that we've been out. I think a majority of them might end up asking the doctor that's on board majority of those questions. But as far as like our outreach goes, most of it really just revolves around the glasses or the shoes when we take that mobile medical unit out.
I'm curious as to what kind of success stories you have, and how do you know when you're really getting through to people?
We've actually had a few of our clients who have went from, an A1C of 13 to 15, that really high range, that have dropped down to 7, 6 or 7s, so they've really progressed.
I had one that I went to a 5. Now, I wouldn't say it's 100% us. It's changing. It was full lifestyle change, watching what you eat and getting that exercise in.
Now, how much are you able to push that exercise as well? I mean, so much of this stuff, it just, the truth is, this falls on the person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really does.
And that's one of the biggest things. So whenever we do our like nutrition consultations, there's 3 big questions that we ask. How able are you to make these changes? How willing are you to make these changes? And how ready are you to make these changes? Because if you're really not willing, ready, and able to make these changes, you're not going to start those steps. You're going to take what we say, you're going to listen to what we say, but it's not going to leave that room.
And I like it because it'll also, if you're not ready and you really look inside and like, I'm not ready, it's still in there. You got that little grain in there, and hopefully soon you're going to be ready.
Yeah, and this is totally almost off the point, but there's a, and I heard the song on the way to work, but and I'd hadn't heard it in years, a guy named Joe Jackson. He's, he's still around, but he had this song called What You Want. And I don't know, you probably never heard it, but the chorus goes, you can't get what you want until you know what you want. I'm like, yeah, until you've made a decision to say, I am going to drop to a healthy weight, and I'm going to I'm going to pour some work into my body so that it will function better. Until that happens up here and in here, you just, I mean, you're just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all know where that's going to get you, you know.
Yeah.
3 weeks, maybe you hang with it for a few months, but until you until you commit to yourself, you know, unless you take care of yourself, unless you commit to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of that myself. I'm just going back to like the physical activity side,
Yeah.
the exercise side. I'll go to like GNC and I'll buy me like my pre-workout and my protein, my BCAAs and stuff, and then, they sit on my shelf for 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, yeah,
Got a little dust on them.
Yeah, I was like, man, I really need to get in there, start using those or something, But it's really like getting that first step, making that first. It doesn't have to be, what did he say when he landed on the moon?
It doesn't have to be a giant leap.
Yeah, it ain't got to be a giant leap. Just that small step right there. That's all it takes. Just that one first small step, and then we can work with that.
Well, I know we're kind of in the middle of the month now, Nutrition Month. What do you want people to get out of it? What do you want people to know? I mean, obviously you want to promote your program, but even if they don't if they don't yet feel like coming in physically and talking with you, what do you eat? Maybe it's just someone who's here working, or they see your posts on your social media, whatever. What do you want them to come away with? What's the seeds you want to plant?
To be mindful of what you eat and how you feel when you eat. Slow it down. Try to eat to 80% full. You should, when you get done eating, you shouldn't be miserable. You should be able to take a quick walk and not be sick. I know I'm the worst at this because I'm always like, I'm so full.
So we had like pasta last night. It was pasta and chicken cutlets. And my youngest daughter was laying on the bed and she was like, slaps her stomach. She was like, I'm so full. And we just like cracked up. But it was
Modeling behavior. She learned that somewhere.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I can tell you that. No, just kidding.
That's a big that I'm really trying to work on. And I can say this all day long, but as soon as I eat, I forget. But I'm like, slow down, slow down.
Yeah.
Think about it. And
so that was like one of the things that we was actually talking about the other day. Like, so in the military, like I first got to basic training, and I was like sitting there and, I was eating my bacon.
Yeah, you don't have very long.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. So I was like sitting there trying to enjoy my food and they was like, you're done. And I was like, I took 2 bites of my bacon. What do you mean I'm done?
Yeah.
And so then I quickly adapted to having to eat, within those 2-3 minutes or whatever they gave you. And now, like, it is hard for me to slow down. Like, I'll be the first, might be like, the third or fourth at the table, but I'll be the first one done.
Yeah.
And they're like just sitting there, like looking at me, like still eating them. They're like, "You already done?" I'm like, yeah.
No, that's
it was good.
You talk about conditioning, because I mean, in high school, it's like I said, when the thing is, once at least where I was in high school, once you could drive, and we had an open campus, so you drive, so you don't want to eat at the cafeteria anymore. So, and the thing is, you still have that, like 30 something or 40 minutes, and that's it. But if you've got 40 minutes to run out of class, get to your car, hopefully drive safely, and you didn't, and drive, just a few blocks away to some fast food place, and then all your friends unload, and you get to the counter, all your friends are there, and you just, you swallow, that meal, and then you go back into class. But we did that over and over and over and over and over and over and over for years. And then, I've been working in television news for so long. It's, it's very much, you might sit down and think you're going to eat, start, like you said, start eating. But, as soon as your pager or the two-way or whatever went off, there's breaking news. Nah, there's no such thing as a leisurely lunch. Man, you just, boom, you swallow up your meal when you have chance. And again, like you said, I'm still trying to break that. If I think about it, I can, but still sometimes I feel like, why am I taking so long? Why are you taking so long?
I know,
why,
right?
Why is everybody at this table eating so slow?
I'm like, there's people that are going to come in and start waiting. Like, we need to clear this table out.
Unless you go to, there's that particular, I won't say the name, particular Mexican restaurant. They will get you in and out. They will shoo you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we eat fast
See,
as a society.
So I went to school at Calumet, and we got to walk, uptown for lunch. We had Jiffy Trip, was 270 charcoal grill at the time, and then Johnny's Grill there. So like those 3 locations, were the stop shop for lunch. So, we got onion fried burgers, French fries, all of that good stuff for lunch whenever we wanted to.
With the extra grease.
Yeah, extra grease, all of that. So, I mean, that was, I don't think because I think we got to start going at 7th grade, we got to start walking uptown for lunch. So I don't think since like about 8th grade to senior year, I really ever ate lunch in the cafeteria.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, and did you even sit down? Because I know we couldn't even sit down because I was in El Reno and there was no space at any of those places. So you're eating, walking,
I do remember that too.
Yeah.
There was occasions that we got to sit down, but a majority, for some reason, I remember us having like a long lunch at Calumet. So we were able to like, order and then walk.
Well, Calumet's pretty small too.
Yeah, it took like 2 minutes to walk, So, but I remember like being able to like order, eat, and then still go back to school and have time to like sit around and, joke around and do all that stuff. But it was just like, just that atmosphere and that like opportunity there. Whereas, like the school cafeteria food, it's kind of planned out like healthy portion sized meals. So skipping that and then going to, the greasy fried foods and all of that, I kind of sit back and think like, man, I probably should have, ate some of that cafeteria lunch.
Well, you can't beat that cafeteria pizza, man.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man. Well, we got way off track here.
Yeah, we
did. Before we wrap up, I may want to make sure that I give you guys an opportunity, to hit the points that you want to get across and National Nutrition. And the truth is, it's a month, but we're trying to promote this year round, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty good with what we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Just be mindful. Think about how you could make things a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
What swaps can you make?
Mm-hmm. And try to give yourself about a couple hours before bed that you eat. I know I've come to realize that, as Native people, sometimes we tend to cook really late meals and stuff. So try to cut back on that and give yourself a couple hours before bed. That way your body has time to break that down, but while you're still moving around.
Yeah.
Because if you eat right before you go to bed and then you just go and lay down, your body's just...
I know, man. How many times we lay down? But the funny thing is, you talk about that, and these days, like if we eat past like 7 or whatever, or 7:30, there's times just stuff happens. My wife's like, "It's so late." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's not like, And there've been times, like we've talked about going out, or going and grab something to eat. It's like she goes, "Well, let's go," and I'm like, "What are you? It's only like 6." She goes, "That's playing time." I said, "What are we, 80?" I'm like, "That's what my grandparents used to do.
Yeah.
Go get the early bird special." But I'm like, well, I guess we're creeping towards that direction.
Yeah.
But no, it's true. It's like as we get older, our bodies aren't everything is not as efficient as it used to be, and so what you do not want to do is eat closer to your bedtime, and then you're you can't sleep because your stomach's making all kind of noises, and no one needs that.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be getting rest.
Yeah, and your body doesn't because you're not moving, your body won't break it down as fast, so then it kind of basically turns into fat, and so that kind of.
Well, guys, so you break it down. So, like you said, you don't have to have what at every meal.
You don't have to have meat at every meal.
Oh, that's a killer, man. But it's true. It's just if you have, you can how about this? You can have a burger for lunch, but you can have like eggs and stuff. Eggs. Hey, there's some protein right there.
See?
I dig on some eggs. You can have a nice breakfast tortilla. In the morning, you have like a PB&J at lunch. Well, no, have a hamburger at lunch, but you could have a PB&J or a grilled cheese or something like that, or even some sort of a veggie burger. And I'm not big on those, but you could have some kind of vegetable dish at dinner that is going to fill you up. It's going to, check that, satiate. That's a
Yeah.
big way.
Yeah,
that's a
that's a
good
good one.
word. But make sure you don't do it before, shortly before you go to bed. And the other thing is what?
Just healthy swaps.
Yeah, moderation.
Yeah,
And
moderation. Be
don't-
mindful.
don't attack this like, oh my God, I got to change everything. I got to have this much paperwork to do that. No, it's a journey, man. It really is, and it has to start with you. Just maybe you omit one thing, or and try that. And if that doesn't work, maybe omit a different thing. You know what I'm saying? It's just you got to get started on the right track.
Yeah, baby steps. It doesn't have to be something stressful.
Yeah.
Like, it absolutely
Because
does
if it is,
not.
you probably won't stick with
Yeah,
it.
100.
exactly.
All right. Well, Marcos, Raven, thank you all so much for being here, and best of luck as we continue through the month. Healthy. What's it called again?
National
Nas-
Nutrition Month.
Yeah, best of luck as we go through National Nutrition Month. Thank you all for being here. Ha-ho! And we will see you next time on the Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.